Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here, coming at you from the Knife Center, and welcome to Knife AQ, episode 167 of the Knife series where I answer all your questions, sharp or dull. This week, amongst our questions, what if you had to build the perfect 3-knife collection, but you only had $100 to do it? Let's find out what we should do. All right, everyone, welcome to the show. If you're new around here, first of all, welcome. And what we do is we pick out questions from the comments section below these videos. So, hey, if you have a question and you think it might be worthy of inclusion in a future episode, or even if you're not sure if it would be worthy or not, drop it in the comment section below. First question today comes from Nacho Buddy 1.
Whose buddy is he?
Not so big fan of you, no, either, guy.
We do like nachos, though.
Let's say you had $100 to buy 3 basic knives, 1 EDC folder, 1 gentleman type knife, and 1 fixed blade. Where would your money be? I know you've done budget videos, but I can't remember this type of question in particular. We did, in fact, do some EDC combos under $100. It was actually a pretty fun video. Prices have gone up a little bit on some of those items since then, so they might not all hit under $100 anymore, but we'll leave a link to that video up here. But that included EDC gear as well. It wasn't necessarily multiple knives. So we haven't sliced it quite this way before. This is a fun one to think about. I've got 2 options here, 2 different trios to pick one, 2 2.5, or 2 2/3. Anyway, that'll make sense in just a moment, I promise. The first one, when we're talking about budget stuff, I've been talking a lot lately about Moras and how they're, Mora over really anything, is like we like to say, because they're so good and so inexpensive. So this really begs me to start with a Mora for the fixed blade, and that's what I'm going to do for the first trio that I'm going to show you. So I basically just pulled up the Mora brand page, the Mora Knife brand page actually, and picked the least expensive Mora fixed blade because they're all good, even the least expensive one. And that's the basic 511, a carbon steel model. These stainless versions are a couple bucks more. These are $11.99 on the KnifeCenter website right now. So $12. Excellent fixed blade. It is comfortable. It fits my hands, which are slightly larger than average, but it fits them quite well. You've got about a 3.5-inch blade, that razor sharp Scandi ground edge, decently tough carbon steel, and not so thick that you can't still slice with this Scandi grind. Sometimes Scandis, when you get thicker on the actual blade stock, they still work great at carving wood and that sort of thing, but you're less able to efficiently tackle other tasks. Thinner on a Scandi grind is always the way I like to go, and this is an excellent option. And super basic, but super utilitarian and useful sheath. Nice and lightweight too. So that's where I'd start, $11.99. For that, or paired with that, for the EDC folder, I'm always happiest, me personally, with some kind of finger safe lock. And if I could have my druthers, it would be a crossbar lock. And thankfully, since the patent ran out on the Benchmade Axis lock, everyone else is able to make their own versions of it now. And there's a lot of affordable stuff out there, including the Boker Kihon DC, a Lucas Burnley design. Excellent knife for the money. $42.46 at this point in time as we are filming this. You've got a 3.25-inch drop point blade. That is pretty much the ideal for me in terms of just an everyday useful blade, both in terms of the shape and the approximate size. I'm gonna feel well equipped to do basic stuff and to do some slightly bigger cuts with this particular one too. Like, it feels nice and robust. Part of that's due to the handle giving you enough length here. It's injection molded. You've got a reversible wire pocket clip, and you've got a nicely tuned thing. What's the word? Crossbar lock. Pardon the brain fart right there. Exactly how you would want it to feel. You've got ball bearings in the pivot on this one, so it got almost that kind of like glassy-like smoothness. The D2 steel, at this price range, you're pretty much not going to beat it for edge retention. It's a capable edge, or a long-lasting edge can be achieved with D2 very well. It's going to slice well enough with the high flat grind here all around. simple recipe, but it works. And especially when you throw in that price point, or just 42 bucks and change. Excellent knife any day of the week, even if you're not on a budget. And for the gentleman's type knife, or my formal knife in this situation, I'm gonna go maybe something a little unexpected. I'm gonna go with the Swiss Army knife, specifically the Victorinox Cadet, coming in at $45 even right now. And it is slim, so it doesn't take up a whole lot of space. It'll lay nice and flat and not, bulge out your clothing too much, which in certain formal situations can be very nice. And the A-LOX handles here just look classy. They look like way more classy than $45 should get you. And you've got a basic but simple or effective tool set. Standard stainless steel blade. You've got a nail file with nail cleaner on the end, and you've got the bottle opener and can opener, each with their respective screw driving tips. This one on the can opener can even do number 2 Phillips head screws, and a wire stripper notch in the cap lifter. Awesome little tool right here. I actually own a couple, because I had one, thought I lost it, bought another because I just had to have another one. Grand total for these 3, before tax, of course, and before shipping, although at KnifeCenter, 95 bucks, free shipping kicks in, $99.45 for this trio. I like it. But what if you want more? Like, what if this fixed blade doesn't quite do it for you? What if you want something that gives you more oomph, more power, more power? Bigger, better, faster, more, so to speak. For that, I'm going to turn to my other favorite affordable fixed blade series, and that's the Cold Steel SRK, the Survival Rescue Knife. And the SRK-C is usually my go-to at $32.95 for these versions right now. But with the other picks I pulled together, you could actually go even bigger at $37.95, spend a couple bucks more, and get the full-size SRK with a 6-inch SK5 carbon steel blade, a full inch longer than the SRK-C, slightly thicker on the blade, and a hollow grind to counteract that a little bit so it slices well, as opposed to the flat grind on the SRK-C, and a more girthy handle. This is a ton of knife for just under $40. Comes with a sheath, I promise. That's the compact sheath, but they're both pretty much the same. Clicks in like Kydex. You've got extra attachment options if you don't like the standard loop with strap with snap loop here that it comes with. So you've got versatility, and you can kind of grow with it over time if you wish. The tang is full length, but it is enveloped in this, injection molded rubberized coating or material. I'm fumbling a lot over words today, but it is a nice feel. The grip is tackier than on the Mora, which can be a downside in certain situations. If I'm sitting, doing a lot of wood carving, that can actually raise a blister faster than the smooth, non-grippy handle of the Mora. But the advantages of this, of course, are the more traction. What is a disadvantage for the wood carving is an advantage elsewhere when you don't want to lose your grip on the knife. Pairing that up for the main EDC folder, if I want to keep it with a crossbar lock, I got to spend a little bit less money, but that doesn't quite fit the theme, or the choice I had here would be the Schrade Divergent, which is actually pretty fantastic little knife at just under $22 with an AUS 8 blade and the crossbar lock. And it's not perfect. There's a few things around the edges you can point to where it's maybe not quite perfect, but everything that needs to work works exactly the way it should, and it feels good. Good steel, good price at that price for sure. But in keeping with the theme, started with the SRK here of giving you more for your money, I'm gonna let that slide a little bit here. The Petrified Fish Forward is where I'm gonna go. It's a liner lock. It's not my preferred crossbar lock, and it's not really bigger. It's technically got a little bit more sharpened edge than the Kihon DC here, but in hand they feel roughly about the same size, even though, like I said, you do have a slightly more edge on the Petrified Fish. But this is $27.99 right now And the blade is just over 3.5 inches long, and you get that D2 steel yet again, and it feels even more precisely ground than on the Boker. As far as the action, we've got ball bearing flipping going on here. Flips quite nicely. Good size handle for my slightly larger than average hands. I can get a full-sized grip on that for sure. I should get a fuller grip on the Boker, but yeah, sweet, sweet knife for the money. And rounding out the trio for this is actually my favorite affordable gentleman's knife, and that would be the CJRB Rhea, the version with the flat carbon fiber handle scales and 12C27 blade steel is $31.95 right now. We didn't have one of those on the shelf today when we were filming, so I have a stand-in here just to illustrate. This version is actually a KnifeCenter exclusive with black and orange G10 handles, which look, under certain lighting conditions, almost like desert ironwood, so that's kind of classy. RPM 9 powder metallurgy blade. This would bust our budget, however. This is on sale right now for $49.95, but that's still too expensive to keep all these under $100, but $31.95 for the standard one of these. The blade is just under 3 inches long. It is innocuous yet effective in its kind of flared drop point shape. You've got a deep carry pocket clip, which I especially like on any kind of formal situation knife where you want to keep things tucked away and nice and, you know, not shouting about their presence. And the best thing, or the cherry on top, the thing that really pulls this design together, apart from it being just an effective shape, is just how nice the flicking action is. So, so nice. It's one of those things you can't really properly describe. You kind of have to experience it. It just pops super, super nicely without, you know, having to resort to any sort of assisted opening mechanism. It's just excellent. Awesome little knife. What's the price here? If you go with the, like I said, the SRK and the petrified fish and that CJRB, $97.89 before tax. And if you cut it down with the SRK Compact and go with the Schrade Divergent, $86.85. It's a lot of good affordable stuff on the market nowadays for sure. Anyway, that's what I would do. Which one of these two would I pick in the grand scheme of things? Yeah, I'd want to spend like $120 and pick my favorites of both, but I'll probably go with the Mora pick here, even though I would personally prefer one of the SRKs, probably the Compact personally. I think day to day, I would rather have the Boker Kihan instead of the petrified fish, just for my personal preferences. So, all right, you folks out there, now this is where we have to throw things to our comment section. Here's your challenge. Fulfilling these three categories, where would you spend your $100? Let me know. Next question comes from Anarion Piano. Hi Dave, do you have any recommendations for a premium folding beater knife? Which usually is kind of a contradiction in terms, but we'll go on. No budget, just a knife you wouldn't hesitate to use for anything and everything. Not because it's cheap and replaceable, but because it can stand up to it. There's a lot of good, expensive knives that are built to perform really well, that aren't just, designed to be collection pieces. And speaking from personal experience, the most expensive folding knife that I own, that I have also used extensively, is my Chris Reeve Sebenza. It's the Sebenza 21 with the Insingo blade, this modified sheep's foot using S35 VN. We do have some of this KnifeCenter exclusive version in stock right now with MagnaCut steel with the Sebenza 31 generation micarta inlays. Mine have, my old one has black micarta, and I have beat the heck out of that knife over the years. It's probably, as much as a fan as I am of crossbar locking knives, and as much as I have used crossbar locking knives, maybe harder than I should, and they've stood up to it, there's something about the Sebenza that just inspires confidence. And I've done stuff with it that I shouldn't have done with a folder, and it has always come back for more, and it still feels just as taut, just as tight, just as precise. And for those of you out there who, and there are those of you out there who don't really get the Sebenza, don't understand why it's still considered an icon by so many, is it has that well-earned history and reputation of being that precise and that well built and still staying that way after being used and abused. So that was my first inclination, the first place my brain went. I know a lot of folks will do the same or say similar things about some of the ZT frame locking folders. Another one that comes to mind are the new Demco folders, both the AD20 and the 20.5, which this one is one of those right here. And this one is, $330, 20 CV blade, titanium handle, and they're built to work as well. The shark lock here on the back is super strong, yet still fluid and easy to use with either hand, which is a nice thing. It's easier to use with your left hand if you're actually coordinated with your left hand. There we go. That's another great option as well. Comment section. Here's your cue yet again. What are your expensive knives that you wouldn't hesitate to just put through the ringer and have a good time with it? Love to know. Hope that helps, Anarion. Well, now we come to our lightning round for today. First question comes from Tip and Chris 7814. Been a while since I asked a question, DC. I know this is a subjective answer, but I'm thinking of picking up either the Spyderco Native 5 lightweight or Sage 5 lightweight. Here's the Native, here's the Sage. Which one would you pick and why? Well, between the two here, I've got a like-for-like version here. Each one has the lightweight handle material and S30V blade steel. Tip to scale, they're each right at that 3-inch mark. Technically, the Sage lightweight gives you like the scotiest of scotias more blade length and overall length. You've also got like the scotiest of scotias more there. Not enough on either way to sway me to pick one over the other. Price-wise, we're dealing with the Native 5, US made, coming in at $138. The Sage 5, made in Taiwan. Wait, I showed the Sage. Native 5 coming in at $138, made in Golden, Colorado, for $159. So $21 more. The Taiwanese made Sage 5. And as much as I am a sucker for a US made knife, I mentioned it earlier here in the video, I'm a sucker for finger safe operating mechanisms, which simply means not that a lockback is not safe. I trust lockbacks implicitly. Finger safe in this context just means you can close the blade without your finger ever crossing the path of the blade, which is just an extra degree of safety that this type of locking mechanism enjoys. And I love the rapidity of that compression lock there and the ability for it to be finger safe as mentioned. It's not quite as ambidextrous as a crossbar lock, but it can be done as I showed you right there. Other than that, they're pretty similar. Weights, similar. Blade thicknesses, similar, although maybe a scotiest of scotias slimmer on the Sage 5, but I'm a sucker for a finger safe lock, so I would go with the compression lock personally, but you can't go wrong with either. If you want to save $21, the Native 5 is a fantastic knife. Next question comes from Jason Chatham, 4170. Would you please give your opinion on what steels will take the keenest/sharpest edge? Realize that geometry is 95% of it, however, seems like some steels just get a finer edge than others, even if it's the same knife and just different steels. For this, I would say, you mentioned, you said Nitro V takes a great edge, but won't hold it as long as some super steels. Nitro V is, you can kind of think of it as a modification of the kind of Sandvik line of stainless steels, more specifically in this case, 13C26, which is also what Sandvik's 14C28N was a spin-off of. Their 12C27 also, but basically any steel that can hold an edge, first of all. I'm not talking like 1810 stainless, like pot metal stuff here. Any steel that's capable of holding an edge, as long as it has relatively small carbides in its molecular structure, is going to be able to take a keener edge, a finer, more refined edge than something with large carbides, such as, the classic example, D2. It gets its edge retention from big, hard carbides in its matrix. But those simple Sandvik steels, Nitro V, are a great example. Simpler carbon steels, 1095, takes a wickedly keen edge 52-100, another great choice. But that's basically, simplifying things way down. The smaller the carbides, the finer the edge, provided it's still a steel that is designed to hold an edge. Hope that helps. All right, Fred Henry 7580 asks our next question. I'm convinced, it's not a question actually, that the more skilled one is at sharpening and blade maintenance, the more happy that man is with inferior, in quotes, blade materials. I 100% agree with you, and that is also one of the reasons I enjoy those fine-grained stainless steels, that Sandvik family, AEBL, which actually Sandvik copied for their 13C26. I should have mentioned AEBL a second ago. That's why I'm such a big fan of some of the steels like that, because I'm good at sharpening. I can actually say that these days. That wasn't always the case, but I'm pretty good at sharpening, and those steels are so easy to sharpen. So when you like double up your advantage on those, and man, just the edges when they come out the other side are just so fun and so just delectable in use. And now we come to our final question of the day, which is of course our most serious question of the day, which today comes from Schizification.
Reading.
If Sasquatch is coming to camp for dinner, what knife do you use to prep it? I like the turn of phrase right there. This one's too easy almost, but I gotta do it. That would be the Case Laramie Miller designed Sasquatch Skinner right here. $165, $10.95 carbon steel, so it takes a very fine edge, a very keen edge. Plenty of sweep on the belly there. You'll make short work of Mr. Squatch in no time. Hope that helps. Well, that's all we have for today, folks. Keep leaving me your questions down below, and of course your most serious questions as well. Let me know what you thought of the answers here. Again, give me your 3-knife $100 combos. Give me your other heavy-duty or hard-using expensive knife beaters that you may or may not have experienced. Drop them down in the comments as well. If you want to get your hands on any of these knives, there are links in the description, and those will take you to KnifeCenter.com. And don't forget about our long-running Knife Rewards program, because the least thing we can do when you buy one of our knives today is give you some free money to spend on your next one. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center. That's Thomas behind the camera. We are signing out. Signing off. See you next time.